has the question, what's Atzilus? Is Atzilus Gilui HaHelem, revealing what already existed? Or is Atzilus a Schachah, something new? And one he brought a moshel, since where do we find the Lashon of Atzilus? Tzalti min ruach asher alecha v'samti alein. Which means we'll take in Lashon that brings from the Tereir, Eid v'amshich, b'china shel cho, shir l'matem madrigoscha. The level of Moshe Rabbeinu will, the Eibusher said, I'll lower it down to the level of this Canaan. Right. Why do we need the madrig of Moshe? Because everything has to come from Moshe. But then the weights and the level of Moshe, it's too high. In order to be able to reach the people, it has to come down to this Canaan. It's only a hard levad.
Right, because Moshe couldn't be Mashpir Basar or whatever.
To low frame, we explain two types of Basar, Basar Ruchni, Basar Gashmi. So there's two low frames. So in order it should happen, he has to have a revelation. Any revelation is a descendant. Any Gilu is a descendants of the thing. It's not the way. Kol Gilu, Rosh Chassidus. Kol Gilu, you need the Lagavi Madrigosi or Reshena. Any revelation is a descendants Lagavi the way it was in the earlier state. Seichel Midis, the Midis way in Seichel, the way you come down in Midis, it's much lower. It's not the same Reichkeit, the same realization of the reality. It's Mitzumtzum according to the Midis, according to what he could feel, which that's Tzimtzum in it. Mashenke. So this is the idea that Atzilus is a revelation. Tak, it's a lower level, but it's a revelation, expression of the Keiches, so to speak, the Keichachochem, the way it was included higher. Now Atzilus is revealed. Al derech nefshodim, you have keichas and alom and keichas agluim. You have the same keichas the way they exist in keichas and alom, keicha mask, and then it's mizgal, it's keichas seichel agolui. Same thing in chesed, you have them shochan alemes, and then it's mizgal, they say there's kol, they say there's protis. So in the revelation of that tzmakeach, even though it's on a lower level, but it's an expression of it, it's a gilei ha'helam. On the other hand, he has, if we find another place that Tzilus is verkehrt, Tzilus is yesh me'ayin. It's a new thing.
They give the Sirus.
Yeah, like we said, it says in the Pasuk, that it's like Yesh Me'ayin. In Chesed didn't exist. Sviris. Chesed is Pshitos. Now we find Shiur, it's a new thing. And he brought from Tereir, Pasuk Liyo, the Lashon, Yesim Mishein Arich Bria Lagabe Atzilus, Ein Arich Atzilus Lagabe Ein Sof Baruch. That even a greater Ein Arich that Bria has to Atzilus, Atzilus Lagabe Ein Sof is even a greater Ein Sof. Is even a greater Ein Arich. Why? So he explained because, and then he said, he put it into what we say in davening, Shabbos, Ein Arich L'cho Be'elam Hazeh. That the Elam Hazeh doesn't bring out the Ein Arich L'gabe the Eibishter. This is the way he touches it over here in the beginning.
It does not bring out?
Oh yeah, that's going to see the end of the Sif. He's going to say how Dafke Be'elam Hazeh, we see the idea of Ein Arich. But here, the Vaile was explaining how Ein Arich L'cho Be'elam Hazeh. I can't, us in our world, we cannot bring out the not value of things Lagabe you. We cannot say just like we Lagabe a higher world is not of value, so to the higher worlds Lagabe the Eibishter is the same Ein Arich. Because our Ein Arich Lagabe higher world is only a descendants. The ideas of Chochmah came down from Atzilus to our world. But to say that the same thing is the same Ein Arich also exists Lagabe Atzilus Lagabe higher, that the ideas, the Keiches, the Sviris, which revealed in Atzilus are also the same Ein Arich that we have to Atzilus, the same Ein Arich as Atzilus L'gabe Ein Sof, that we can't say. That's the way he teaches over here. Why? You can't compare this bittul to this bittul.
Don't we say B'chlal that Bria is his Chachus?
Right.
L'gabe Atzilus?
Yeah. That's true. And the specialty of this Seif, the lotion that he uses over here, that Atzilus is considered a Nivre. The Lashon over here, it says Nivroyim Umekablim.
It's Mama Shapella.
It's a Pella Godel.
I'm glad that even ganz Chassidus books vergessen.
Yeah.
Atzilus is in the state in beide.
Yeah.
Und Bria heeft sich am Nivre.
Right. That's just the beginning. He starts here is that's where the beginning when he starts saying that it's Gilei Helem. So he says that's where it's a Lakus. And then he starts saying Mekomakeim, even though it's a Lakus, it's also in Arich. Because the mere fact that we start seeing Tzir of Sfiris, in Pshitas there's no Sfiris. In Pshitas there's no Tzir. Pshitas, you can't find, that's what it says a Loshen about Keser, Lav Inu Neherin. It doesn't reveal the Eibishter. You can't reveal the Eibishter. The Eibishter is beyond revealing. Whatever I'm going to say about the Eibishter is not true, it's not richtig. It's Beis is the Eibishter allein. So if
Pshitas also doesn't.
Gut, das ist noch tiefer gerät. Also, viel Atzilus ist Kesser ist auslachen Zimtzum, in Chanami. Fine.
So, I mean, one should say that. I mean, so everything
you have to know
is just how the Eibusher expresses himself. He expresses himself in Bilti Bal Gavul, and he expresses himself in Gavul. But it's also Eibusher.
True. So that the way we tried to explain it was last week that what we're focusing on here is not the fact if it's getl chodenish, if it's godly. Them is the takagila helam, but in the fact that he has a tziyur, a way of existence, that tziyur is bein aricht earlier.
Okay, so that's a new thing. The tziyur.
That's something new that didn't exist before.
This is a
yeah.
This is a chiddush. Okay.
So we give a the dogma. The Rebbe says you say $1 legabe bligvul money is ein arich, but what's money legabe seichel? Klal ein arich. It's klal nish ken erich. Who needs money? The whole idea of money is nothing. It's value. It's no value. Even the $1 legabe bligvul money is ein arich, but it's all be'erich. It's all in the same world. So the same thing here. We're saying the tzir that we have is a mugbaldik tzir. We have chokhmah mugbelas, but sof you can't say that Atzilus negates the idea of chokhmah. It negates the idea that it's nivra, that it's not the Eibishter, but the fact that the in of chokhmah, the tzir should be the milus of nivroim, fakert, that's coming from Atzilus. But when you say Atzilus should have a chlal in of tzir, but chlal related tzir, is ein arich, and that's what we're saying. Even though he uses sharper l'shenis over here, he says, really it's all in the same realm, the same idea. He says that os legabe Atzilus, we existed in Atzilus. If Atzilus will stop giving Elam Hazeh, Elam is biyah in general, creation, life, what's going to happen? It's going to go back to its source the way it existed before. This Asar Mamoris. That's the essential existence of Eri, Hirokia, Tachioritz. All these things exist in Atzilus. We say Malchus Atzilus is called Tapuach and Shishano and Heaven. All these things, I forget but they're there. Forget that. If we'll know that's Amitis of the Inyonim, the way they're there, we say the Yad Hashem, Ein Hashem. The ultimate is the way it's in Atzilus. Coming down here comes Neif Metzumtzum. So we can't say that it becomes nullified. Mashenk in Atzilus Lagabi Mekede. In Mekede is Jokim Metzis Bechlal, Jokim Sir Bechlal. Not that it's there in a higher level. It's good for Tzarech Hezbed, but Akapon, that's the Lashon he says over it. That if this is Agnuz, but then there's higher levels. Akapon, but the Lashon he says over here, this is sort of weird, and it's not that we got to the end. Akapon, the Lashon he uses that all our existences existed already in the Elam Elyon. Asheinkein. So it's not total. People will come nullified. You won't. The Eibusher wouldn't be mashpiyas to be. We would be stating in a higher level, but not to call oisin ganzen. Mashenk in Elam Elyon Sir. You can't say that it existed once in the Ein Sof, because in Sof lav mi kol midisiyu klal. So if he wouldn't give over, he wouldn't be megal of this spheres. What would happen? Well, we come back not to state this inyan on its highest way, but zrigain zum matzah from pshittis. So that's why it's even a greater ein arich. Because us legabe higher, soft is like one part legabe many, so it's one part of it. Do old, so taka old is a small part of it, but it's a part. Mashenk in Elam Elyon. Then Mashenk in Atzilus legabe higher, it's not existent. You can't find a tzir of sfiris in the Ein Sof. And the Ein Sof Herzachal says Ein Sof. The idea that Al Sfiris should come and see itself as a tzir, that was the Schadish Lachar Tzimtzum in Atzilus. So in other words, if Atzilus would be realized, why is it? Because it's Pshitus Ein Sof, that's why it's here. That's Pshat, it's lifting Tzimtzum. That's its whole teichen is Ein Sof of the Eibishter. And then it wouldn't be a Sfira Protis. It wouldn't be able to be focused on unseen as a Sfira Protis. That's Pshat lifting Tzimtzum. Everything is Kol Batz Musay. That everything is realized. Why am I here with? What am I here? Well, the Eibishter realizes will sein. The whole Eibish has ability. Anything could be. But not that there's an inyan this way of revelation. This inyan Proti. There's no focus at Protim. Protim is only a Prat, only a idea, because the Eibishter Ein Sof can all sein. That's the teichen of everything. So you can't say that it exists over there. There's no inyan in it. So Mela is nischadish in Atzilus. Mitzad this, Atzilus is called Yesh Mi Ayin, for new thing. That's the question basically that he has. The two sides we find in Atzilus. On one hand it's Gilei Helen. On one hand, it's Ein Areich. Yeser even than Biata Atzilus. This is what we learned last week, 2 weeks ago. Fine. Now we're holding over here at the end of the Sif. The Inyan Ein Areich L'cho B'Elam Hazeh Yesh Leimar. What if so? What is in this? Is 6 lines from the end of the Sif Yud Bais. Omid Yud Bais. Inyan Ein Areich L'cho B'Elam Hazeh. What does it mean that Ein Areich L'cho B'Elam Hazeh? That in Elam Hazeh, here is expressed the Ein Areich L'cho, that nothing has any value to you. Which L'chor says the simple meaning does not fit what we said till now. The meaning we said till now is Ein Areich, that Elam Hazeh doesn't bring out the Ein Areich, the true Ein Areich l'gabe the Eibishter. But the Pashta Taichin of words is Mashme Ein Areich L'cho B'Elam Hazeh. Only in Elam Hazeh do we see Ein Areich. Yesh Leimar. So we could explain it how it fits in the Pashta Taichin of the words, because Yesh Leimar She'B'Elam Hazeh Nirev and Nigle Eich She'Ein Areich. Over here we see the idea of Ein Areich. Why? If we're speaking about the mere physical part of creation, that's Ein Areich. If we're speaking about the Shiur, the Nefesh, the Teichen of Elam Hazeh, the Askola, the Midas about what we have in the world, that you can't say it's Ein Areich. That's something that already exists and we're coming from there. But the Gashmi, that you can't say that once existed. That it was with Samson Lord till it came a Gashmi. From how much there'll be a Tzimtzum to the Ruchnis will never come out of the Gashmi. That's what the Maimon HaChekrim, Gamma Chekrim made him, she's having a Gashmis Ma Ruchnis, Ein L'cho Briya Shmayin Godel Mizeh. You'll never have such a jump that the Ruchnis never have such a thing, that should become a Dover Gashmi, a physical thing which is take for smoking. And it's the whole existence of a Dover Gashmi is the mere fact that it exists. That's the Taicha Gashmi. A Gashmi is I'm here and no one else could come in my spot. A Ruchni is, that's what we find. A Gashmi, you can have a broken Gashmi. A Ruchni, you can have a broken Ruchni. If it doesn't make sense, it doesn't exist. It's not a Dvar Seichel. You can't have a Seichel doesn't make sense. It's not Kayom. The Metzias of a Ruchni is defined not because it's here. It's defined because it makes sense. It's a teichen. It has what it says. So basically, this jump to become a davar gashmi, kaposh. There's no gashmis in ruchni. So how did the gashmi come about? He actually is havas gashmi b'derech erech. So you can't say that it's coming from step to step. You'll never be able to step out of ruchnis and say B'tzimtzum otzum mitamol will become a gashmi. B'tzimtzum otzum will be a smaller ruchni. It's like saying from little light will become darkness. From little light will be a little light. Will never go enter the opposite way of existence. To become from ruchnis gashmis is a jump shalei be'erech. Like Hashem areim davar gashmi. Behechach leimer shesavusi me'ayin bebchinas ein areich. So when we see something physical, the physical thing itself is telling us that how did it come about? Me'ayin, which means from non-existent. Not that there was a source to it, and it's in a smoking to it, because it's heipach of ruchnis. Gashmis is heipach from ruchnis. It says Gashmis by definition tells us that, first of all, tells us that it's not always here, it wasn't always around, and it tells us also that it's even now when it is here, it needs constantly something to hold it together. And it tells us also since it has its end, so that tells us also that it has to have, so that on its own it's not really existent, it needs something to make it be. But the source that makes it be, that gives it place to be, is me'ayin, is heipach of gashmis. Because it didn't exist and now it came to be. It says b'chinas ein areich. So if we see a gashmi, we see, it tells us about ein areich. So, and conscious to what he's saying before, forget, in Elam Hazeh and dafke in Elam Hazeh, we see this idea of ein areich. That's what another Maimon says, that a mitzvah of ein areich is dafke in Elam Hazeh. Ein areich l'cho be'elam hazeh, dafke Elam Hazeh. That's when we start realizing that it's everything's be'ein areich. And there has been another Maimon that says, we'll see if it fits over here or not. Rebbe's Maimon, and Chav Beis, the Rebbe speaks about it, that Eir is megale, that everything is expression of the Eibishter. Ein zu los chom akein ul chayil abo, that in Eir Herzichon everything is gila amoyer. Why am I here? Because the Eibishter is expressing himself here. That's what Eir feels. That's Taich. The way Eir expresses and explains everything is that the Eibishter is expressing himself. What's his alt? Der Moyer is misgale. The Eibishter is here. It's not I'm here. Der Moyer is misgale. Mashenkin Gashmi is on the Puk Fakert. Gashmi says I'm here. Doesn't see it's Mokir. That's the guilt that Eir tells Gashmi. Gashmi shouldn't look at himself as a Gashmi. Oh, Aleina Mensch. He's on his own. The only reason he could be because the Eibush is expressing himself. But Gashmi doesn't see it. So Gashmi starts crawling into his own Metzias and says, but how did I come to be such a Metzias that I don't relate to something higher than me? I see myself independent. I don't see a connection to earlier. How does this come from me? How does this come to be? I'm not expressing anything. So till he comes to realize that this is coming from the essence of the Eibishter, which doesn't have to be expressed, doesn't have to be revealed. The Eibishter, which is is not defined. Therefore, from him, you can't say things have to make sense how they come about. So even could make even a Dover Gashmi. So if I get the Dover Gashmi tells me when you see a Gashmi, you realize that the Eibishter is beyond description. Therefore, even a Dover Gashmi, something that doesn't make sense, which is not expressing anything. We mentioned before, what's the Teichen of a Dover Gashmi, is not saying anything. It's just here. What is it saying? It's saying that the Eibishter has no definition. That Amit is saying nothing has an erech to the Eibishter. You can't say something klept, something makes sense that should come from the Eibishter, something doesn't make sense. It's not. It's beyond that. It's beyond even saying it's beyond making sense. He is. Whatever he decides, that's what will happen. And from there comes a Gashmi. Once a person comes to this realization that the MS, you can't define anything in the Eibishter, so then he starts looking at Eir and says the Eir is revealing the Eibishter. Does the Eibishter really have to be revealed? Is Eir really revealing the Eibishter? The Eibishter is beyond being revealed too. So really the whole idea of Eir is also Be'ein Areich. Is also Be'ein Areich, not ultimately revealing the Eibishter, because the Eibishter is beyond any description. So that's what it says, that just like Eir is megala to yesh, realize that really ain't zu los chom al kein l'chayil ma'abod, everything's dependent on the Eibishter, everything is the Eibishter's revelation, that really our world, even though we generally say Elam Loshen Helem, but really what's the world? It's ultimate revelation. The Eibishter expressed himself. The whole world is the Eibishter's extension. Like in the Sharich of the Munah. So that's the Eir telling to the world, but the world on the other hand is telling Eir, has a kind of punk farket. Avad also the Eibishter, but so how did I come to be? I'm not saying anything about the Eibishter. Elamai, the Eibishter is beyond definition. Ein Areich. Once I realize the Eibishter is Ein Areich, then that Eich der Herr and the Betzim, he's also insignificant. Also, he doesn't have to be. As the Eibishter decided, he'll be Megal himself, but the Eibishter beyond any description. That's the Ein Areich l'chob Elam Hazeh. The Elam Hazeh is Megal, not just the Elam Hazeh is Ein Areich. The Elam Hazeh is Megal, that everything is Ein Areich to the Eibishter. Anything is beyond of break the shtar is the Eibishter k'meishahu. So Kaponim, we'll see if he says this over here. This says in Chassidus in other places. In Beis, the Rebbe said this, Barichas, there's all hemshich over there. But Kaponim here, see, he says over here, Vakashan rein over Gashmi, behechach leim shesavusi me'ayim b'chinas ein arech. Why? Because it's not expressing anything. He's just here. So where is he coming from? From an ayin, which means that's beyond being expressed. He doesn't have to express himself. So therefore he can even make something that doesn't show anything. There's nothing to it. Therefore, Dafka in our world and in Elaz will understand this will give us the realization that even the highest world is also in Arech. So here he doesn't explain, he doesn't go to Eir is also in Arech. He just says because once we realize that the Eibishter is Ayin, is beyond being expressed in any way, and therefore he can make a Gashmi. So therefore if I start seeing anything that has something to it, saying something like Atzilus is Megala Chochme, Megala, our way of understanding, our way of Chashposach Sodim, Shareu Gam Kineilon. So how did this come to be? The Eibishter is beyond description. Ayin is Havusei B'chinas Yesh Me'ayin. The only way it come to be is Yesh Me'ayin. Just when that change Yesh Me'ayin, the Pashta type we learned now was Yesh Me'ayin, that the thing didn't exist before, and now it came to exist. But that's not the ultimate way, or I'll say maybe it's even not right to say that, because from non-existent nothing comes to be. Yesh Me'ayin, Ilapeli didn't exist, but it doesn't come from the Ayin. From nicht, For nothing becomes nothing. If there's nothing in existence, besides there's no such thing as nothing. Whatever, it was in the discussion. What's nothing? It's in the Shad. Aber from garnish, wer garnished? What's that yesh mi ayin? So mi ayin really means it's beyond description. So one thing is saying that this thing didn't exist before. That's one type mi ayin. But deeper understand what touch mi ayin. He's beyond any description, and therefore he could make anything. If he has a definition, therefore in Perkem Gimel, the Rebbe speaks about the two Ifanim Yireh. There's Yireh Tato and Yireh Elo. Yireh Tato is, we see how the Eibusher created so many elements and so many creatures and so many, and that pales a Yireh on the person. He says, what's the Yireh Pnimis? That's from the Izel Chocham Areis HaNelad, that he sees how everything is being created. Yesh mi ayin. Tloshn Tanya. Yeah? So the question is, if the Rebbe just said a person realized how the Eibusher is creating so many elements, what does he have to now go on? What's Yireh Eloah? He realizes that the Eibusher that's creating the world is Ayin. He's speaking about a person that already realized that the Eibusher is creating so many elements. Whatever, maybe if you look inside the Tanya, it'll be clearer. So what's the pshat? He says the Losh over there in Tanya is that Yireh Eloah is min pnimius elokus shebateicha elemis. From the fact that the Eibusher is beirim have elemis, that's chitzenis of elokus. The fact that the Eibusher relates to elemis, he's creating so many elemis. In other places in Chassidus, that's related as the mitzius of elokus, what he affects, what he makes. That's not him. That's not being yori for the Eibusher. That's being yori from the fact that the Eibusher is such a pale. The Eibusher creates so many, so big elemis. But the idea of Yireh Pnimis, he says the Losh Kavod, Yireh Eloah is